all my man wanted to do was act. That's all that's all Barry wanted to do was act. This is a season 4 finale recap review. On next clip. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and look, this is my Barry season 4 finale recap / review. I'm just going to be going over the events that happened in season 4, including the finale itself, and just my overall thoughts on the Barry series itself, just because it did finally come to its conclusion, which I am really sad about because I really enjoyed this show over the years, especially the first 3 seasons. But before we get into anything else, I got a full spoiler warning ahead, guys. Look, I'm going to give all my, thoughts and opinions on everything that happened in the Barry season 4 and the series itself. I'm just going to be talking flat out about all the events, so if spoiler warning is in full effect here. So if you have not seen Barry, you can click off this now. If you have and you want to talk about it with me, come on, let's get into it then. All right, so let's start with this. This is the second time that Gene Cousineau has decided to rip my fucking heart out and just leave it on the fucking sidewalk and run it over 4 or 5 times, and I really don't appreciate that, dude. I don't understand what your deal is. I don't understand what I did to you personally for you to continuously do that, or for you to do that to me in the last 2 seasons of this show, but fuck you, Gene Cousineau. If I ever catch you on the streets, you are not my man at all. I do not fuck with you whatsoever, and I used to ride for you hard. No homo. But look, either way, guys, I'm going to start with the fact that, this just came to a crazy conclusion, man. I mean, honestly, the fact that Gene shot Barry is just... I mean, it's kind of long overdue, as you would say. I mean, personally, it's just... this... Where I am with this season itself is kind of just the fact that I was very thrown, I won't even lie, I was very thrown off by the time jump. I do understand that Barry went on the run after he broke out of prison and stuff like that. Him and Sally just went off to live their own lives and things like that. But I was just truly, kind of thrown off at the time jump itself. And then once we get to the point where, it's like Gene comes back because he's trying to, first of all, actually, before I even get into all that, I kind of just lead into it. Gene comes back because the Warner Brothers is making the movie about Janet, and then, we get to the point where they think that, Jim Moss finally catches Barry, puts Barry in the garage. Barry tells him about the money he was going to give Cousineau, and that all of a sudden puts this spin on, things, making people think that Cousineau did it. I'm going to be honest with y'all, I didn't really follow that. I didn't really buy that at all. I didn't really buy the fact that all of a sudden they think just because Barry was trying to give him money. I do get it. Like, they think that Barry was trying to, pay Cousineau off or whatever, or like they were like in cahoots with each other. I get what Jim Moss was trying to, hint at. I just wasn't really buying that. I'm like, there's no way y'all think Cousineau did this. And honestly, it's like watching Gene read all that stuff about his son, read the stuff about how his son said he shot him, and like Gene is basically reading all those headlines, just thinking like it's over. Like, Barry has completely ruined my life. This dude has done enough. And it's crazy because I'm really trying to convince myself or put myself in the perspective of Gene Cousineau and understand why he shot Barry. Like, I understand why he shot Barry, but I don't agree with it whatsoever. I'm actually really pissed, man. Barry was somebody I was rooting for wholeheartedly throughout the show. I mean, granted, the show is about a man who, like, is a very... Honestly, he's a bad guy as far as, like, just having the urge to kill, but he's not that bad of a guy at the core. Like, he wants to do better. He wants to redeem himself. He wants to... This whole show has been about a guy trying to find a way to forgive himself for the relentless and merciless things he's done in his life. Like, just absolutely killing people. And, Barry's trying to find a way to redeem himself, find a way away from that life. Like, that's what the whole thing was about. And so, personally, through that light, I truly never saw Barry Moore as the guy who's trying to overcome his mistakes. He just can't get away from the life. It's like, drug dealers. They try to get away from the life that they essentially started, but then realize, it's really hard to get out of that life. And it's the same for assassins. Assassins, it's a hard life to get out of. But I truly only ever saw Barry as that character who, really meant to do well. Like, he wanted to do better for himself. And so, fuck you, Gene. I can't bring myself to understand. I mean, I understand why you shot him, because he fucked your life and killed your girlfriend and stuff like that, I guess. But, I understand that. But at the same time, no, I'm still really pissed, man. Look, Barry, granted, I'll even say this, though. At the end of the episode, the season 4 finale, when he's in bed with Sally and he's saying, no, I'm redeemed. I don't need to turn myself in. Like, he's sitting there and he's just like, nah. Like, well, I was going to say, at that point, Sally realized, Barry probably hasn't really learned anything and we just got to get away from him, and that's why they left. But then, Barry was essentially going to turn himself in and do the right thing at the end. So, I'm trying to continuously find ways to explain to myself why Gene Cousineau, should have did what he did. But, nah, I'm probably never going to get there, and I'm probably going to hate Gene Cousineau forever. But I will say this, Henry Winkler as Gene Cousineau absolutely killed it. One of the best characters on television in the past few years. Honestly, Barry created a lot of amazing characters, man. Fuchs, NoHo Hank, Cristobal. I loved all of them. And honestly, NoHo Hank, R.I.P. to you, my friend, because you were one of the best. Honestly, that shot of him holding Cristobal statue's hand absolutely broke me, because I know the episode where Cristobal dies breaks me down. Like, that joint was absolutely crazy. It was so heart-wrenching. I absolutely loved NoHo Hank and Cristobal as a couple. They were so hilarious. They were really good together. They were a very good group, and I was just so sad to see that happen. But I'll even say this about the whole Fuchs character. Honestly, the way things resolved between Fuchs and Barry, I loved that. I absolutely loved how things were resolved. How Fuchs just brought Barry his son, and they went their separate ways, man. And honestly, the looks that they gave each other. Fuchs always had a soft spot for that kid, no matter what. Like, no matter how many times Barry betrayed him, no matter how many times Barry threw him under the bus, no matter how many times Barry tried to get away from Fuchs, Fuchs always had a soft spot for Barry. And truly, there's just nowhere else that relationship could have gone. I mean, personally, they could have killed each other, or Barry could have killed Fuchs, Fuchs could have killed Barry, but I love the way that ended, because those two's relationship was one that was very special, especially the Fuchs, and Fuchs just always had a soft spot for him, and just knowing that Barry has a son, didn't necessarily want to kill him in front of his own kid, and I do get that. So I really appreciate the way that they handled the Fuchs-Barry situation. Watching NoHo Hank go out, that was so sad. And honestly, one thing I do have to applaud, even though the series has been doing this the entire time, Season 4 really explored a lot more darker themes than we are used to in this series itself, and it still found a way to keep this show absolutely not lighthearted, but definitely light enough to still be hilarious, to where you can still laugh and enjoy yourself when stuff is really funny, because they still keep the comedic tones very high in the show. It's just kind of overshadowed by the darker themes in this show for the most part, or in this season for sure, for the most part. I mean, the way Bill Hader's balancing that is very good. I was very thoroughly impressed. I seen people actually complaining earlier in the season on Twitter about how dark the show has gotten, and it's kind of getting away from the comedic themes. But no, honestly, the show, I think it was, what episode was this? I believe it was either episode 7 or 6. I want to say it was episode, honestly, 6 and 7. From the moment they did the time jump, truthfully, the darker themes they started to explore in that instance, and the comedy that they balanced throughout that was incredible. I really enjoyed those episodes. Like I said, although I was very thrown off by the time jump, just because it's all this is happening without an explanation, really. It's kind of just happening, and it's just damn, what the heck? And it's just what am I watching? It took me a second to realize, oh, this is a time jump. For a second, I thought it was a daydream. I didn't realize that him and Sally actually ran off and actually got a kid and made a life together. I thought he was just daydreaming about something, but no, this was real. And then it took me, once I actually accepted where we were into this story and got used to that, everything just came as normally as Barry shows do, as the Barry show does. It just finished out. Now I'll say this. the show didn't finish as strong as I wanted to. And personally, I don't necessarily know what I wanted here. Like Barry isn't like Succession or Game of Thrones or Sopranos, where there's like an end game and there's a one direction where we know this thing has to go and we just don't know how it's going to end there. Barry could have ended in an assortment of ways, but I'll say this: the way it ended here, I feel like Barry dying. I mean, Barry dying or I guess Barry going back to jail would have been repetitive because it's like he's already been there, but now he's going there for his sins and things like that. But so I mean, maybe putting Barry back in jail would have been repetitive, but I feel like killing Barry or putting him in jail, either or, that works as an ending for sure. Gene Cousineau going to jail. I feel like the last episode should have been maybe just a little bit longer. I feel like I feel like at least maybe almost close to an hour. I feel like Barry, as far as a finale goes, this show probably deserved a little bit more time to really just give us like room to truly believe and understand why these characters are where they are, and like why Gene decided to like I said, it's safe to assume just off the articles that Gene was reading in the end of the episode that I think this is just over and Barry's ruined my life to the point where I just want to kill him now and get it done. That's cool. But it's just like to watch that movie play out like that at the end, and watching his son watch that, and then that's the depiction of his dad that he gets, because I guess he really doesn't remember. Well, he's not gonna remember anything, honestly, because they had him after the fact that they ran off. So he's only gonna have that depiction of his father as far as what they showed in the movie. And as interesting as that was, I felt like we could have got a little more from the show as far as like. There was one thing that I saw asking if Sally was happy at the end, and personally, the first thing that came to mind is, who the fuck cares if Sally's happy? Personally, I stopped rooting for Sally maybe like towards, honestly, probably like season 3. Honestly, not even like rooting for her, because like I did like her and Barry as a couple at first, but then Sally just became really annoying at one point. So truthfully, I really only cared about Barry, and honestly, I wanted NoHo Hank to be happy too, because he deserves happiness. Fuchs is a motherfucker. That dude just is all over the place. He's the Raven. He's in his own world, but I did want Fuchs to be okay too. Those are the main characters. Sally I never really cared for, but I mean, I felt like the finale could have been just a little bit longer, just to really sell us on what's happening with these characters. I feel like it just happened. Everything just kind of happened quickly. And while the episode title of the finale matches our descriptions to what's happening, wow, I definitely was like, wow, that's not what I was expecting where this show to go. I just really wasn't sold on that. Being the end. Like, I understand, yes, Barry's dead. That's where it all, is just done with. But I just felt like we could have either hashed this out for another 2 episodes, or maybe not even 2 episodes, maybe one more episode, or at least made this one a little bit longer, just so we can really be sold on, where we're leaving these characters at. This is a finale. Like I said in my Succession review, the finale of your show is a very, very strong case as far as if you want it to be one of the best, or where you want it to lie amongst the tier of TV shows. And seasons 1 through 3 were really setting up Barry to definitely be one of HBO's top tier sitcom, situational dark comedies ever, and it definitely still is that. It's just I was expecting it to be like on go a step above and be one of like HBO's top tiered shows. I'm gonna put it just below the Game of Thrones, Successions. Honestly, I'll probably put it next to like The Wire, Sopranos. It's not with those. I'll probably put it next to Silicon Valley though, for sure. And Silicon Valley is absolutely amazing. So if you've never seen that, definitely go check that out. But Barry, I'll say this, I was much more of a fan of the first 3 seasons. This season for me wasn't necessarily a step down, but it's just because since this is where like we are ending things, it's kind of like it's a step away from what I'm used to from the other 3 seasons of Barry as far as like a cohesive story and really like shocking us. And while this season did do that, I'm just thinking it's going to do it in the ways that the previous 3 seasons did, and the way this ended for me personally kind of just doesn't. Like, if I were to watch this show again, like go through the whole thing, I feel like seasons 1 through 3 were going somewhere, but season 4 kind kind of got to a point where it's like, all right, Barry's in this particular situation. He's in jail. How do we go from that to ending this thing? And that's kind of where like the time skip comes into play, and that's where it kind of loses me, because I feel like they were kind of, you know, just jumping around with ideas and things like that. Didn't necessarily know how to finish, but this is where they came to. And while I'm not upset with the ending at all, it's definitely not a Game of Thrones situation where it's just a controversial ending whatsoever. I felt like there is more that could have been given to us to give us a more satisfactory ending, or at least a satisfactory farewell to these characters that we know. Like, instead of just shooting Barry in the head. But Gene Cousineau did what Gene Cousineau had to do. Those are my thoughts on Barry Season 4, though, guys. Look, if you have comments, please give me some. I want to know what you guys thought about Barry Season 4, the series as a whole. Let me know where it ranks among your HBO shows. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and so much more. Look, guys, this is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.